Well, hello everybody and happy Sunday. My name is Scott Pinyard and I am the head coach here at This Snake in Mind. And I am live right now, like I am most Sundays, to talk about some stuff I'm hearing, right? To talk about things that I see in my head, things that I see people in our programs talk about. And this week, I want to talk to you about the concept of being stuck. Being stuck. It's a real drag. It's a real bummer. And I want to go into it in just a minute. But first, if you're feeling stuck, and oftentimes what we need is just being able to see things differently. I'm going to go into that a little bit. But if you're interested in doing that, and now is the time for you to take a break from alcohol and learn more about alcohol, learn more about yourself. Hey, Maria, how are you? Then I highly recommend you join us for the November live alcohol experiment. The November live alcohol experiment. It sounds crazy to be saying November, but I am. It is open right now. So you can find out more information at livealcoholexperiment.com. I just put that link in the chat, and of course you can see it in the description of the video as well. This is a 30-day program where you get daily content, you get daily live coaching, and you get an incredible community of people who are taking a break from alcohol to study and learn its effects on their life. So if that sounds interesting to you, we are just getting started with the November live alcohol experiment. Content kicks off on November 1st. The group is filling up. We have some awesome giveaways. We have some other stuff that we're doing between now and then. So if you want to join us for that, head on over to livealcoholexperiment.com and check it out there. Lots of great information in there and lots of great things that you can learn. I just realized I think I misspelled that. A little behind the scenes. Alcohol experiment. Yeah. Sorry, I misspelled it. I gave you guys a bad link. I don't want to do that. So let's talk about being stuck. Let's talk about being stuck and what that actually means. And so I want to, there's the link again. Now it's in there and it's correct. Hopefully it went through. So now being stuck, right? It's a very common thought, right? Anytime we're trying to make any sort of a change, whether it's a change with alcohol or a change to our weight or a change in relationships, and then when we feel like, man, I'm just in this pattern over and over and over and over of being stuck, I can't seem to find a way to get out. We hear it all the time, right? I see it. Maybe some of you watching this video are feeling stuck. Hey, Stacy in South Carolina, how's it going? Angela in the UK. Christina, how are you doing, Christina? So maybe you're feeling stuck, and I want to introduce you to an idea. And there's a good chance that you've heard someone say this before, and it's a little cheesy, but like a lot of things, cliches like this, is a kernel of truth in there. So you've probably heard the saying, right, where someone says, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right, right? Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. What the hell does that mean? Right? And what that saying is pointing to is it's pointing to the idea that what is possible for us is created by us. Now, I am not saying, hey, I'm going to learn how to walk in the ceiling and I'm going to do it just because I think I can do it. That's not what I mean, right? But within the realm of possibility, what we tell ourselves affects how we operate, right? It affects how we go about trying to do the things we want to do. Hey, Pam, how are you? And it's really important to keep this idea in mind, because when we're sitting around and we are saying, okay, I am stuck. What does stuck mean, right? Stuck means I can't get out. Stuck means I am here and I will forever be here, right? I am not going to be there. I want to be there, but I'm not going to make it because I'm stuck. Right. And so we say this to ourselves and we repeat it to ourselves. I mean, this is exactly what I did with alcohol, right? For a very long time, I just kept telling myself, I am stuck. I'm stuck. I'm stuck. Right. And so I would try to quit, and it was hard, and I failed according, and quotation fingers if you're not watching this, right? But I failed according to my definition, and I'm like, see, I'm stuck. Right. And I was reinforcing this idea over and over and over. And eventually, every time I tried to make the change, every time I tried to shift my relationship with alcohol, before I even started, I would think about being stuck. right? And it would trip me up because it was in my head. It was how I was defining the situation because it was a reality that I was accepting and I was looking for it, right? I was looking for evidence of why I was stuck because I said I'm stuck, so that must be real. So because I believe I'm stuck, there has to be some things that show me that I'm stuck. And the things that showed me that I'm stuck was the fact that I wasn't making progress, right? I felt like I was stuck. So I was stuck. And I stayed in this pattern for a long time, but then something, and I've seen this happen with a lot of people trying to change and shift a lot of different things in their lives. Something more devious happened. Right. I remember really clearly this one day, and I woke up with a massive hangover, right? Like, I did not feel good. I was supposed to be places with my family. I had really overdone it the night before. And I remember thinking to myself, like, this just needs to change. Right. And that was like a lot of days for me. I would wake up and say, like, I can't do this forever. But the very next thought, and this is the devious thing, I'm not going to change because I'm stuck. So I'm not going to try. So it's out of my hands, right? To be honest, I get a little emotional when I think about this because it was such a low point for me. And it could have been very easy to remain stuck because I believed it, right? So being stuck went from an idea to a reality, right? From an idea to a limitation that I was placing to myself. And then finally, from an idea to an excuse. And I want to be very clear that I'm not trying to chastise anyone who says I feel stuck, of saying you're just making an excuse, because you're not, right? But eventually this is where the idea of being stuck leads us, right? When we accept this idea that we are stuck and we are going to be forever stuck, then eventually the logical conclusion here is that we stop trying, because why bother? Because I'm stuck. And that's where I was at, right? And I would come to this place where I was like, man, I really got to make a change. I can't make a change, right? I'm stuck. But then something shifted for me, right? As time went on and I learned more, something shifted for me. And I want to tell you about that. But before I do, I want to kind of walk you through something, right? And this is going to help illustrate my point. So I have a question. I got to catch up on comments while you guys are commenting a lot today. Where are we? Maggie, hello, hello. Good to see you. Maria, all right, good. Jennifer, how are you doing? Jennifer, Donna, hello, hello. 312 days alcohol-free, Donna. That is amazing. Congratulations. That's just incredible. I love hearing that. So this is the thing I want to walk you through, right? Have you ever had an experience where, like, you really, really dreaded something? For me, it was always work. Of course, not this job, my previous job, right? Like, I had to make a presentation, or I had a big call or a big meeting, and I just dreaded it, right? Like, and I knew it was going to be horrible. Like, I knew it was going to be a terrible experience. Have you ever had an experience like that where, like, you really expect it to be terrible and then it wasn't? Right? Like, you really expect things to be horrible and then they're not, right? Maybe it turns out great, right? So if you can think of a time like that, I want you to bring yourself back to that moment when you're sitting there dreading it. And I want you to think about, wow, what were the thoughts I was having, right? What were the emotions that I was feeling, right? You were absolutely certain that this thing you were dreading was going to be terrible. It was going to be awful. And when you did that, when you really committed to that certainty, I promise you, if you think about it, you're going to recognize that you were feeling the emotions of failure. You were feeling the emotions that you were going to feel when you're in that moment. As a matter of fact, our brains can't really tell the difference between a very, very good visualization and reality. So if you sit down and you focus on this, and we do this in our programs, we leverage this in our programs, when we spend a lot of time really focusing on something positive or negative, whatever it happened to be, and we create this reality in our heads, if we do it detailed enough, then we are going to feel the emotions that we're going to feel at that time. It is super scary. It's really trippy. If you've never done it before, I highly recommend it. And, the reality is, right, you're waiting for this event. If, for my case, I'm waiting for this work event, I've already decided that I'm going to fail. I've already decided that this is going to be horrible. I'm already feeling horrible before I even go into it. And then, thankfully, reality disagreed. Right? Thankfully, I went into the meeting and it wasn't as bad as I thought. So I wanted to tell that story because it's something that I hear, and I'd love to hear from you in the comments if you've experienced anything like this. But like, this is very, very common, right? I hear from people about this all the time. And, when I look at this sort of thing, I recognize that there are two really big takeaways from this experience, right? First, expectation and what you tell yourself is powerful, right? You can actually make yourself feel like you failed before you failed, right? So I used to do a lot of presentations for work, and I remember I had to do a presentation at a fairly big conference in Chicago one time, and I was getting ready for a flight to head out there. And I don't know why I remember this particular instance. It happened to be so many times, but I was packing for the flight and I was like, I gotta find a shirt and I gotta find a tie and I gotta, have this. Back then I didn't have my beard, so I had to have a razor, right? Like I was getting ready and I was thinking about the event and I was just filled with dread of the event, right? And I just so clearly remember packing my suitcase and just saying, this is gonna suck. I'm gonna fail, right? No one's gonna like what I have to say. My presentation is going to be terrible, right? My boss is going to hear about it and he's going to fire me. And I'm playing all of the ideas out in my head, right? I'm just going all the way down this road. And when I was done packing my suitcase, I felt awful, right? I almost felt so bad that like I wanted to go like apologize to my wife for losing my job. Nothing had happened, right? Like nothing had happened. The only thing that had happened is that I had spent a lot of time focusing on it and thinking about it, and I made myself feel those emotions, right? Before anything went down, right? So that's takeaway number one, right? Expectation and what you tell yourself is powerful. Takeaway number two, and this is a big one, is that you have no idea what the future holds, right? And neither do I, right? None of us do. And so this idea of like, oh, I've got this call and it's going to just crush me and I'm going to fail, or I have this presentation and I'm going to fall flat on my face. That is a possibility among millions, billions of possibilities, right? Yes, it is possible. Every time that I got up on the podium and I went to talk about engineering and blah, right, boring stuff that I tried to make exciting, every time I did that, yes, it was 100% possible that I would totally fail. But it was also possible that I would do great or that I'd do okay or somewhere in between, right? My point is this. You don't know what's going to happen in the future. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. No one does. And so when we tell ourselves things like we're stuck, we're making an assumption there that doesn't make any sense, right? When we're saying I'm stuck and I'm never going to get out of here, I'm never going to shift the way that I want to, I'm never going to have the life that I want to, I'm never going to do the thing that I want to. When you tell yourself that is the case, you are making so many assumptions. And the reality is, humans are prediction machines, right? Like, and so I'm saying this in order to like let you know, like it's okay that we make these predictions, and evolutionarily, predicting things, imagining things, thinking about things, trying to see what's going to happen down the road has helped us very, very well, right? As a species, it's helped us stay alive, right? The perennial example we always hear about is this idea of like, oh, I hear a rustle in the bushes, right? And so we predict like that could be a tiger and I better go that way instead of that way, right? That serves us. Here's the catch, right? Sometimes we overshoot ourselves, right? If every rustle of the bushes is a tiger, then we're constantly going to feel terrible, right? If we're going to be telling ourselves that there's danger around every corner, that we are certainly doomed, then we're always going to feel bad, right? And by shifting my thinking around alcohol just a little bit, it changed. And I want to talk about in a little bit, I do want to talk about some questions that you can ask yourself as a pre-frame when you're feeling this way. When you hear yourself saying, I'm stuck, I want to talk about a way that you can change that so that things do shift. And again, I want to invite you to, type in any questions, anything else you want me to comment on. But let me sort of go through what happened with me, right? So what happened with me, I'm at this place of, man, I am stuck. I'm out that Saturday morning where I wake up and I feel terrible and I think something has to change. And then immediately I use the idea that I created in the first place, that I'm stuck, as an excuse to not do something. I was going throughout that day, and I remember I used to live by this really big graveyard, and I know that's kind of creepy, right? But yeah, it's beautiful. And I was on a walk through the graveyard, and I remember thinking to myself, all right, you say you're stuck, right? What does stuck mean? Stuck means you can't get out of where you're at, right? Stuck means you can't move forward from where you're at. And I remember thinking to myself, well, the only way that I know that being stuck is true is if I stop trying, right? Because if I'm not trying, then I am going to be stuck. And that Kelly, me too. I really do love gravity. Yeah, see, look, I got my skull ring on. Kate, 711 days of making a different decision. Congratulations on that, Kate. That is amazing, amazing, amazing. Congratulations. I realized like, oh, the only way that I'm actually stuck is if I stop trying, because if I keep trying, one of these times it might work. And that's where these two bits of information fell into place for me, right? When I recognize, wait a minute, I'm sitting here telling myself I'm stuck, which means I'm using it as a reason not to try, which means I'm using it as something that's making me feel terrible, right? And you guys have heard me say this before, right? As drinkers, when we feel sad or depressed or stressed, what do? We drink. And suddenly it became super clear to me that this idea of being stuck was not an accurate description of my reality, right? This idea of being stuck was not something that was real. It was something that I was making up. And not only was it something that I was making up, but it was something that was keeping me stuck. And I know that's like a little bit brain bending, right? But this idea that like, oh, I'm stuck and I can't move forward was continuing to make me feel bad and was continuing to make me not feel like trying. And so suddenly just this idea that I am stuck meant I was staying stuck. Whoa. Just the idea of telling myself that story over and over, I'm stuck, was keeping me stuck. It wasn't true. I didn't know, right? I can't predict the future. But because of the feelings and emotions that I was having by telling myself I was stuck, I was actually keeping myself stuck because I was assuming that I knew what was happening. I was assuming that my past equaled my presence. And that's just not true. So I know that like I covered a lot here and I was talking about just don't tell yourself you're stuck. And I want to help you with that a little bit. I don't like the idea of like, oh, just think differently, right? People who follow This Naked Mind, right? People who have worked with me or Annie or any of our coaches know that we are very focused on science and very focused on really being able to use some logic to help ourselves feel better. And so I want to give you 3 questions that you can ask yourself. When you find yourself saying, I'm stuck, right? When you find those voices in your head, Kelly, saying, oh, you're stuck, right? I want to give you some questions you can ask yourself. And to be super clear, oh, Peggy, 85 days alcohol free. Congratulations, Peggy. That is really awesome to hear. So amazing. One thing about these voices in your head, Kelly, you just reminded me this. A lot of people don't realize this. It's not something we think about, but like you can argue with yourself, right? You can argue with those voices, right? You can push back, right? You can say, no, I think you're wrong. You can say, show me the evidence, right? You can actually engage with those voices. And I know that sounds a little silly, but it is absolutely 100% true. And I see people do it in our programs all the time and make progress. So let me get into these 3 questions. These 3 questions that you can ask yourself when you find yourself saying, I'm stuck, that can help you move beyond that and take this idea of stuck from something that you made up and that might be standing in your way to something that you leave behind you. So, question number 1, what message am I sending myself? That's worded kind of oddly on purpose, right? I want you to remember this. And the reason that I said, what message am I sending myself? Because I found that going through this process and learning to become aware of this stuff, it was very helpful to treat myself like a kid. Right? And so often I think about this, and anyone who has kids out there or who's been around kids or just lives in society probably have this idea in their mind, right? We think about the messages kids are receiving, right? We think about the messages that people pick up on. Well, the same thing is happening with you, from you, right? So like the thoughts you have, the things you're telling yourself, you are sending yourself a message. So ask that question, what message am I sending myself? You know, And if I were to compare it to kids, my son, so this is a crazy story, right? My son is 7. He's been trying to ride a bike since he was 5, right? He's 7 years old. The summer when he was 5, he wouldn't want to try it. He was like terrified of it. The summer when he was 6, terrified of it, doesn't want to try it. Most of this summer, right? He turned 7 this summer, right? Most of this summer, terrified of it, do not want to try it. What would happen if I said to him, well, you're stuck, right? You're never going to ride the bike. He would never try it when he felt comfortable. To put a pin on that story, one day, literally, this is just a couple months ago, he just picked up his bike and rode. Like there was no amount of me running beside it, like in the movies, like none of that stuff. He literally was like, oh, well, I can ride this. I'm going to do it. Right? He'd seen kids around the neighborhood doing it. But would he have done that if the message that I was sending him was like, oh, you're stuck? No. Right? And so what is so important about asking this question of what message am I sending myself is getting aware of the dialogue that's in your head. Kelly, you talking about, I wish I could change the voices in my head. You have done a huge thing because you are aware of those voices, right? So asking the question, what message am I sending myself, is really about taking a step back from your own thoughts and really looking at them with awareness and like pay attention, right? What am I thinking over and over that I'm stuck? What message am I sending to myself? Am I thinking over and over that I can't do this? Right? What message am I sending myself? So I want you to imagine 7-year-old you and imagine saying the things that you're thinking right now to 7-year-old you. What message are you sending? Right? And being able to shift that makes a huge, huge difference. And just seeing what that message is going to give you some guidance on how you can think differently and move through things differently. Question number 2. What do I know to be true? And where am I trying to predict the future? Now, fair warning on this question, you will drive yourself nuts because you're going to start to realize how often you are just predicting, how you are projecting, how you are assuming, right? We do it all the time. We don't know. Now, again, right, from an evolutionary standpoint, this is a very positive thing, but we overdo it. We overdo it. And so we're constantly predicting things. And so asking yourself this question, what do I know is true and where am I trying to predict the future? When you're feeling stuck, will start to change how you feel. Right? So in my case, I was saying, I am stuck, I am stuck, I am stuck, right? Over and over and over for days and weeks and months and years. And then eventually I stopped and I'm like, well, what do I know is true? Like, what can I prove? Well, what I can prove is that I have been trying and I haven't been going anywhere, right? I know that I want to change, but no, I don't actually know that I'm going to drink tomorrow or next week or next month or a year from now or a decade from now. I don't know. I couldn't say with certainty. If someone said, hey, tell me honestly, will you be drinking 1 year from today? There's no way to actually answer that question because I can't see from today where I'm going to be next year. And as you start to see this, right, as you start to dig into this, it gets you back in touch with the fact that no, you don't know where you're going. And then suddenly this idea of being stuck seems less permanent, right? This idea of being stuck seems less like a predictor of where you're going to go and more like just a current thought. Now, the third question, I'm going to tie it all together for you before I wrap up. And again, please, if you have any questions, please go ahead and send them my way. The third question is this: how can I think about this in a way that makes me feel better than I do right now? And this is so important, right? So let's go through the questions again and I'll show you what I'm getting at, right? Question number 1, what message am I sending myself, right? What am I telling myself over and over that I'm going to believe is true? Question number 2, what do I know is true and where am I trying to predict the future? So I know the message that I'm sending myself. I'm really thinking about whether or not this is true. Now, the third question is just like, all right, given all of this information from asking myself those first two questions, how can I think about this differently? And how can I think about it in a way that makes me feel better? And here's the thing, right? You don't need to feel all the way better, right? I'm not saying like think of the opposite. That doesn't work. But how can you think about this in a way that makes you feel a little bit better? Because feeling a little bit better, that's that sliver of light I was telling you about, right? Feeling a little bit better, that is taking one more step. So for me, when I was looking at all of this and I was thinking through this, I started to realize, all right, yeah, I have been stuck, right? Note the past tense there. But I'm not stuck if I do this, right? I'm not stuck if I keep moving. For me, and this is a personal thing for me, right? I recognized that the only way to stay stuck is to stop trying. And if I kept trying, then I couldn't really say I was stuck because I don't know the future. I logicked my way out of this. So, what that meant is that there was hope, right? That hope was created by me, right? That hope was created by my brain. That hope was created by changing the way that I thought. And was it like a guarantee? No, like I didn't swing from, oh, I'm totally stuck to I am guaranteed that I'm going to be out of here, right? That wasn't what happened. I was telling myself I was totally stuck. And then part of me was just saying, hey, you don't really know that. And so I went from feeling super depressed and angry and mad and frustrated to feeling less depressed and angry and mad and frustrated. And so it wasn't like the clouds parted and that was it, but I had more room, right? Because the stories I was telling myself, the message I was sending myself wasn't true. And once I saw that and once I recognized that, a little bit of hope started to grow. And a little bit of hope goes a long way in this business. For anyone of you who has dealt with this before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know what it feels like when things are going good and you're learning things and you're changing your thinking and you're like, this is awesome. This could really happen, right? When you visualize your life past alcohol, you think, okay, wow, this is happening. And by the way, same thing with losing weight, same thing with lots of different changes we make, right? We can feel that hope. And when we feel that hope, we're much more likely to take actions that are going to get us toward that hope. And the opposite is also true, right? When we feel stuck, when we feel like we're not going to get anywhere, when that's the message that we're sending ourselves, we don't feel hope. As a matter of fact, we feel doomed. And when we feel doomed, we are not very likely to keep taking the steps that we need to take to get to where we want to go. So that sliver of light for me was refreshing. And it took time, right? But when I recognized this, when I recognized, wait, I am changing the way I'm thinking. When I recognized that there were things that were changing and growing in my life, if I would just give them the space, then that light changed and grew too. But it all started with stopping creating my own future, with stopping standing in my own way with this idea that I'm stuck. So I know that I led you on a bit of a journey there, but I just wanted to go over this with you because I hear so often people say, I'm stuck. And I'm telling you, and again, I see it over and over that eventually, if you tell yourself that long enough, then you are going to be, right? Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. So next time you are feeling stuck, I want you to take out a pen and paper and ask yourself 3 questions. What message am I sending myself with this thought? What do I know for sure is true and can prove? And where am I trying to predict the future? And then question number 3, how can I think about this in a way that makes me feel better than I do right now? And I'm telling you, if you go through this process, you will start to feel, again, not completely better, but that little sliver of hope. That little sliver of hope is all you need to grab onto to keep moving through this process. So if you are stuck, take some time with these questions. It'll make a huge, huge difference. All right. I think I might have seen a question in here. There were a bunch of comments. I love when you guys talk to each other in the comments. It makes me very happy. Yeah, there it is. Stacy said, I just started the 100 days of lasting change. Is it too much to do the live TAE in November too? Absolutely not. Totally up to you. The 100 days of lasting change kind of helps you through those first 100 days of adjusting to an alcohol free life. But going through the alcohol experiment, and maybe this isn't the first time you've done it, Stacy, going through the alcohol experiment multiple times helps you. First of all, you learn different things you didn't see the second time. Secondly, you solidify things for yourself. So if you are able to do it, if you have the time, then yes, I do recommend it. It can be a great, great thing to do. And, be aware as you're doing it of like, oh, wow, these are the thoughts I'm having. Oh, yeah, I remember when I felt this way. I remember talking to someone not long ago who went through the alcohol experiment after she had been a year alcohol free. And one of the things she told me is like, it was really great to go through this and see how far I've come, right? To see what's shifted from me. So if that could be the case for you, Stacy, then yes, it is absolutely worth it. And I will tell you, as long as you don't, have to really, really kill yourself to make it happen, I think it would be a really great, great thing to do. Let's see. What about fear? I'm so scared of everything. Kelly, it's the same thing. It's the same thing, Kelly, right? So you're saying, I'm afraid of this, I'm afraid of that, right? How does that thought make you feel? And when you feel that way, what do you actually do? Pay attention to that, right? What message am I sending myself? What do I know is true? And where am I trying to predict the future? And how can I shift this? And again, this isn't about being really stuck in fear or being deeply in fear and then being absolutely out of fear. That's not what this is about. This is about being really deeply in fear and going through this process and feeling that fear less. When we feel that fear less, there's more space, right? We're able to open up. We're able to take different action because we're not focusing so much on that emotion. Um, yeah, Kelly, another live event. I really hope so, guys. It has been over a year. Well, we probably would have done. Yeah, by this point, we would have done two This Naked Mind lives. We haven't been able to do them, obviously, and it's something that I really miss. So yes, stay tuned in the future. I really hope to be able to get back out there live with everyone. I know Annie really wants to do it. I really want to do it. I talked to the rest of the team. They really want to do it. So hopefully, fingers crossed, in the future, that is what happens. So that is it from me, everybody. If you are interested in taking 30 days off of alcohol and getting incredible content and amazing live coaching and being part of a fantastic community that is going through this experiment as a group, then I cannot recommend enough checking out the live alcohol experiment. We are just setting up the November live alcohol experiment now. Content starts on November 1st. If you join today, you can be part of the giveaways that are happening. You can be part of the conversations that are happening, and you will have time to do the pre work. There's a bunch of pre work videos in there that you can watch to get ready for your experiment. So if that all sounds good to you and you want to find out more, please head on over to livealcoholexperiment.com. It is open right now. There's a great video from Annie in there and lots of information on the page. I really hope to see you in there. It is a fantastic experience. It's one of my favorite programs that we run. All right, everybody. Well, that is it from me. Thank you for listening to me ramble on about being stuck. And if you are stuck, give yourself some grace and work through this process. Don't stand in your own way. Hope is possible. All right. Thank you all very much. We'll talk to you soon.